A young couple thankful for the Reserve Bank's interest rate pause. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article discussing a young couple who are, well, thankful for the pause in the cash rate. You can see here the increase of the rate heading towards 4%, 4.1 or 4.5 were the predictions, but we're sitting on 3.6 now. And the question is this the pause that will signal the peak? We'll have to see. So let's jump and have a look at this article about a young couple of first home buyers who, well, are thankful for the pause. Now, there's a lot of us who locked in our mortgages at the lower rate, very low rates. Many people locked it in under 2%. And we're going to come off those in the next couple of years or next couple of months. And this is the interest rate cliff that the media is playing up. Now, the point I make is that many of us who've had mortgages for some time, we know that the low rates are crazy. And coming off them to something more normal should be just returning back to what you're used to in years past. Now, the people we need to worry about are those that bought during the COVID mania period, paid a lot for the houses that they bought and perhaps pushed themselves a little too far and only managed to get into the market thanks to these artificially low rates. And, well, they're going to face reality now. How are they going to cope? Let's have a look at this example. So the Reserve Bank interest rate pause is welcomed by mortgage borrowers as Lifeline prepares to meet with Governor Philip Lowe. Okay, well, there you go. Mortgage holders and support services have welcomed the Reserve Bank's decision to pause months of interest rate rises amid surging living costs, mortgage repayments, and more young people experiencing financial distress and accessing support services for the first time. This is the sad reality of it. The interest rate hikes are not going to hit the older Australians, not as badly as the younger ones who've just managed to break into the market. And here's the thing. How many of these young people do you think who managed to get into the market are going to, well, their spending was probably already heavily tilted towards saving to get a deposit to get into the housing sector. So slamming them with higher interest rates is going to make how much of an impact on their discretionary spending, which will flow through and impact inflation? It's a messy system. This really is. This is a messy, bloody system we have here. So on Tuesday, the Reserve Bank paused interest rates after 10 consecutive rises at 3.6%, with Governor Philip Lowe noting the central bank is waiting to get a better idea of the impact past rate rises have had on inflation and the economy. It's a welcome reprieve for first home owners, Jeremy and Tyler Morris, who bought their Sunshine Coast home in September last year after taking out a variable loan. They only moved in at the end of March. Okay, so they're just new homeowners. Congratulations to them. And Sunny Coast, it's lovely up there. It really is. It's a growing area. It's not too far from Brisbane. Because, Brisbane is the centre of Queensland, of course. Since the couple bought their property, their mortgage has gone up by almost 1% and has added $500 each month to their repayment since September. Being variable, we felt the increases every month that the RBA has announced an increase. We felt it with our repayments. So it's been very noticeable. Miss Morris said, well, why didn't they fix then? Or why didn't they partially fix? I guess maybe you want to pay more off it. Miss Morris said the RBA's decision to pause rate increases gave them some breathing space after 6 months of hikes. To add more on top of what we've already increased over the past 6 months would have been not the be-all, end-all for us, but it would have had a negative and a bit of a sad way for us to end our first couple of weeks in our home, he said. Yeah, that's part of life, mate. You'll be fine. You just got to deal with it. So it's nice for it to be a positive and kind of something we can celebrate. I mean, that's kind of the sad thing, that they're celebrating this rent pause. I mean, they only know nothing about the rate pause. They only know nothing about rates going up, 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 up. And I guess that's not the best thing of when you want to move into your first house. You want to be excited about it. Everything's new and fantastic. I hope it doesn't stop them having kids. I mean, they're a young couple that's next on the cards, settling down, having a family. But despite the initial excitement at the reprieve, he said the couple will take the central bank's warning of potential future hikes on board. It does put a little bit of fear in your mind, and I suppose you just have to make calculated decisions and maybe not go out and stretch yourself now because there's a pause, he said. Good, so he's being sensible. He's being sensible. So we'll monitor and everything and see how we go and kind of make a little bit of a plan for if they do continue to rise, and if they don't, then it's a little bit of extra spending money. No, not spending money. It's your emergency buffer that you want to build. Just build it up or chuck it off the mortgage to get out of debt faster. So, a balancing act for landlords. The pause in interest rate rises is also welcome news for landlords, including Dave Raymond, who has 2 mortgages, one for his family home in Frankston and another on an investment property in St Kilda. He reduced his tenants' rent during the pandemic, but said he had little choice but to increase the rent now. His loan repayments have doubled since the rate hike cycle began last May. I can remember when the cost for the interest was as low as $700 to $800 a month, he said. Now the minimum, just the interest that I'm seeing coming out, is at least $1,300 or $1,400, and that's not the principal part on top of that needs to be paid back. Mr. Raymond said the rent charge to his tenant had increased between 10 and 20% in the past year. I think that's quite a substantial amount for a smaller unit. Unfortunately for my tenant, but it's an unfortunate reality for us, he said. Well, here you go, guys. I appreciate a landlord saying, hey, I need to make money, is never a nice thing to hear. But on the other hand, it is that, and we do have to pass on these increases. Otherwise, what's really going to happen is that if the property is passed on and sold, that may even then jeopardize my tenant's ability to live, that if someone else wants to move in. That's the reality of the situation. Mr. Raymond said he's reducing his own expenses where he can as costs increase and tries to balance keeping rent increases affordable for his tenants while charging just enough to help meet his minimum repayments. The answer is trying to just have a moderate approach, not trying to charge too much, but at the same time trying to get by and be able to make those interest payments. So, Lifeline and RBA to discuss the impact of financial distress. The steep increase in interest rates have seen more people turning to services like Lifeline, which has reported an uptick in people accessing their financial distress and homelessness services for the first time. Here's a consideration. We had the lockdowns, we had these rates crash down to nothing. Perhaps, maybe we shouldn't have had the rates crash down to such a low level. And then you wouldn't have had so many people jump into the market and it wouldn't have overheated it. Just the thought. So, we're seeing via web searches a significant increase in the number of people looking for support, said Dr. Ann Brooks, Lifeline's Chief Research Officer. I guess it's the same as the web search data they use for real estate interest and international students coming over, I guess. We have people who are engaging with our digital services and with our centre face-to-face for the very first time. We're seeing a whole new cohort of people reaching out to Lifeline for support. Dr. Brooks said there were various groups reaching out for support, but younger families with a mortgage made up a large proportion of new clients. She said it was not uncommon for people to access Lifeline services during times of financial distress, but said data from the GFC in 2008 showed there was an association between pressure on homeowners and an increase in deaths by offing yourself. There is a precedent for this, sadly, and we're really seeing these current cost of living increases have had an impact on the Australian community right now, Dr. Brooks said. This increased demand for their services has prompted an unprecedented move, with the RBA Governor Philip Lowe sitting down with Lifeline for the first time next month to discuss the impact financial distress has on mental health. We're not economists. We don't presume to tell the RBA what their decisions should be. Well, is everyone on the board an economist? I don't think so. But what we are determined to do at Lifeline is to make sure the relationship between financial hardship and the risk of suicidality is one of the factors that's considered in making that decision, Dr. Brooks said. Part of Lifeline's responsibility is making sure that we represent the evidence based around mental ill health and suicidality to policymakers as the context demands. We're very active in making sure that issues that relate to mental ill health and, yep, okay, they've already read that. It's doubled up. Well, that's a depressing way to finish that article. Let's have a bit of a talk about this one. How many Australians are going to be sacrificed to try and keep inflation under control? And will the increase in the cash rates actually impact those that are, well, facilitating the demand side of inflation enough to warrant the intervention? Maybe they shouldn't have cut as much as they did. It's all just a terrible mess. If you're in a situation like this where you're in trouble, don't check out. Find other ways to deal with it. And just remember, it's just material possessions and money. It can come back as fast and easier as you lose it. It's not the end. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Check out HeiseBim and Heise Does. And if you're a fan and enjoy the content I discuss here, you can support us on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.